Cool, just log it on. Okay. We good to go? Cool. I'd like to welcome everyone, members, officers, and members of the public to this meeting of the Planning Control Committee. Before the meeting starts, I would like to invite the committee clerk to explain how proceedings will work. James.
Thank you, Chair. So if a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on your microphone unit. The microphone will light up green and the chair will be alerted of your request to speak. When the chair invites you to speak, your microphone will be made live and will turn red, at which point you can speak. When the public participants are invited to speak, your microphone will be made live by the committee officer. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members voted will be shown on the screens around the room, and the result will be visible on the YouTube stream. In the event of a tied vote this evening, the chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? No. Thank you. Back to you then, Chair.
Thanks, James. One, apologies for absence. I have received apologies from absence for Councillor Martin Prescott. Having given due notice, Councillor Claire Strong will be substituting for Councillor Prescott. Welcome, Claire. Are there any other apologies? No, follows. 2, notification of other business. There is none. 3, chair's announcement. 1, recording. In accordance with council policy, this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available both on the council YouTube channel as well as on the council's ModGov site alongside the documents from this meeting. 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under the chair's announcement on the agenda. 3, to clarify matters for the registered speakers. Members of the public in groups of supporters or objectors have up to 3 minutes per person. Where there is only one public supporter or objector, then that member of the public will have up to 5 minutes. There are separate groups for people registered as member advocate objectors, member advocate supporters, and for the applicant, their agent or representative. This is up to 5 minutes per group. All speakers will receive a warning when you have 1 minute remaining. Following the conclusion of your time, members will be invited to ask points of clarification. At the end of your allotted time, you'll be advised that the time allowed has ended and you must cease. 4, debate procedure. In order to move through debate on an item, we will require a proposer and seconder for a motion at the appropriate time in the meeting. This should take into account the information in the officer's report and will follow the officer's presentation and any public presentations, including member advocates, as well as any questions of the officer and points of clarification to the public presenters. As a reminder for members, should you wish to propose a motion contrary to the recommendations included in the officer's report, you'll be required to provide clear and evidence reasons for this proposal. 5, section 4.8.23a. For the purposes of clarification, in order to vote on an agenda item at this meeting, a member must be present for the entirety of the debate and consideration for that item. If a member leaves the room at any point of the item, they will not be able to vote. I will take a comfort break at a suitable point in the meeting should proceedings go on at length. 6, meeting cut-off. As you're all aware, there's a significant amount of business on the agenda. As outlined under 4.8.24g of the Council's Constitution, if the meeting proceeds to 10:30 p.m, then the item being considered at that time will be the final item considered at tonight's meeting, unless I believe there is value in progressing through the remaining business. Any items not considered tonight will be deferred to the next meeting on Thursday, the 2nd of July. 4, public participation. Claire, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just declaration. I'll do it now because I've got to move. I did a call in for item 6, so I will be leaving from the committee and becoming a registered objector member. Can I also give the apologies of the Purton Parish Council, who would have been here tonight. However, they failed to register. They unfortunately thought they had up until 12 o'clock this morning to register to speak, not realising the cut-off was 5 o'clock yesterday. So apologies from them. So I'm on my own.
Thank you. That's noted. James, we got that. Yes, I was aware I'd get to chuck you out the meeting for a while. I'm jolly looking excited about that one. You have to leave, don't you? You sure? I could. Never mind. That's ruined my evening now. So, public participation. I have Mr. Roger Lovegrove for item 5. Welcome. Mr. Mark Osborne for item 5. I have Councillor Claire Strong for item 6, established. Mr. Tony White for item 6. Welcome. Councillor Ian Albert, Councillor item 7. And Mr. Abdul Mumin for item 7. Welcome. Right, first item of application 2503084 RM, land to the east of Talbot Way and Christensen Way and Flint Road allotments, Flint Road, Letchworth Garden City. Peter Ball to present. Peter.
Thanks, Chair. So this is a reserve matters application for approval of layout, scale and appearance of buildings and landscaping pursuant to the outline permission 21-00504 OP granted April 2025 for residential development comprising of up to 120 dwellings with vehicle access via Flint Road. So just to confirm that an addendum was published yesterday. This confirmed the updated drawings and documents that will be approved as part of this application and confirmation on the width of the rural edge lane, the waste strategy, surface water drainage and sustainability measures. In addition, I can confirm that Anglian Water have not responded to the consultation. However, foul drainage is dealt with by condition 7 or imposed on the outline permission. So this matter should not therefore need to be considered further in relation to this reserve matters application. Just to clarify that in the event that members resolve to approve the application, the revised recommendation is set out in the addendum, which includes providing legal delegated powers, to the Development and Conservation Manager to resolve outstanding highway matter relating to the rural edge lane, the updated plans and drawings listed in the addendum, and conditions as previously set out, plus additional condition and conditions recommended by the County Council Highways Unit. So if we could turn to the slides, please. So this is the application site edged in red. The site is a strategic housing site within the adopted local plan known as LG3. It's located east of Letchworth, immediately south of Norton Village. So the aerial photograph you can see here, we have the public right of way which runs along adjacent to the northern boundary. Flint Road allotments are located adjacent to the western boundary. Flint Road Industrial Estate is located adjacent to the southern boundary. Beyond the eastern boundary is the Greenbelt and edge to Letchworth City, Garden City. The permissive footpath also runs along the eastern boundary outside of the site. Next slide, please. This is the view from Flint Road. Looking north, the gates you can see are the current entrance to the allotments, and this is the southern boundary of the site. Next slide, please. This is taken from the public right-of-way known as PR W26, adjacent to the northern boundary, and is looking south. So this is the flattest part of the site. Next slide, please. This view is taken from the public right-of-way, again 26, adjacent to the allotments, looking eastwards. Note the current open views to the countryside in the east. Landscaping is proposed to close this view and reinforce the natural edge of the town. Next slide, please. This is the view from the same public right-of-way, looking opposite direction, so that's westwards. And you're able to see the roofs to houses in Hartington Place there in the distance. Next slide, please. This is the industrial unit immediately adjacent to the southern boundary. Trees to the left are within the application site boundary and will be retained. Next slide. This is the view from the permissive footpath outside of the site along the eastern boundary. Note the land rises as you travel northwards. So turning to the plans, this is the site layout plan. Primary street, which runs through the centre of the site. There are 5 green streets which are accessed off this primary street. The rural edge lane runs along the eastern edge of the site. Note the narrower carriageway proposed along the rural edge lane. The access to the site was secured as part of the outline and does not form part of the consideration of this application. Next slide, please. This plan illustrates the agreed parameter plan from the outline permission with the current proposal overlaid. Red circles identify the main access points to the site. Green circles are potential links to the allotments, and yellow are potential links to the existing permissive path located adjacent to the eastern boundary. Next slide, please. This plan illustrates the tenure distribution across the site. So the red dots, you can see them, affordable rent, orange are shared ownership, and blue are social rent. Next slide, please. So the next group of slides will illustrate elevation details for both market and affordable units. As you will see as we progress through the slides, these will have common architectural elements, porches, window surrounds, and bay windows. These are inspired by the early traditional Letchworth Garden City housing. Careful consideration has also been given to materials which combine a mixture of red multi-facing bricks, off-white render, red roof tiles, and tile creasing features to gables and eaves. So this is the elevation drawing of the affordable apartment block. And note the inclusion of particularly of balconies for all of the apartment blocks here. Next slide, please. So this is pretty much identical. This is the market apartment block. So the same elevation details provided here, render, brick, and tile creasing. Next slide, please. This is the typical elevation for one of the Green Street Market terraced blocks. Again, you'll see the familiar render here and the brick porches and the string courses and the tile creasing. Next slide, please. Again, all very similar. So this is the elevation from one of the Green Street's affordable semi-detached dwellings. Slide. Typical elevation of the primary street. This is one of the market detached dwellings. Next slide. And another detached dwelling from the primary street. So here we begin to get a bit of an appreciation of the what the streets will look like. So these will show scale and appearance together with some of the topography. Obviously, we established the land is a lot lower at the southern end, flattest at the most northern end. So the scene to the top of the screen illustrates how the site will appear as you enter the site from Flint Road. So of particular note will be the 2 apartment blocks, which are identical in appearance and illustrate tenure neutrality. Next slide, please. So more street scenes which show the architectural uniformity across the whole site. Also noticeable here are the gaps between the buildings and the presence of trees along all the streets. And the final set of street scenes which illustrate the scale and appearance along the rural edge lane adjacent to the eastern edge of the site. So turning to the landscape master plan, which illustrates the green and open spaces across the site. The key open spaces comprise the village and gateway green. So that's village in the north and the gateway green as you enter the site through the plantation in the south. And then there's the suds in the southeastern corner. Next slide, please. So just a bit more detail around the village green, which is located to the north. Note the 2 access points which are provided, identified on the original parameter plan. The play area, which is proposed here with play equipment and a suds basin to the east, and seating and cycle parking, which is also provided within this space. And next slide. And the gateway green to the south. This will function as a more general communal space with a play amphitheatre providing a focal feature. That's the semicircle there. It will also include play on the way, seating and cycle parking across this green space. Thank you, Chair. That's the end of the presentation. Happy to take questions.
Thanks very much, Peter. Do we have any questions for the planning officer? I've got Councillor Ian Mantle and then David.
Is there a pedestrian and cycle access from the site into Norton Road in Norton Village? I couldn't see one on the plan.
So the outline permission established a connection through the school. So I'm not sure how that works in reality, but the outline permission will secure that. But otherwise the access would be along the public right of way 26 into the streets to the east. Green Lane, I think it is. Green Lane, that's correct, yes. But school access.
Okay, you happy with that, Ian? Okay. Excellent. Councillor Ruth Brown.
Just wanted to ask, there's no approved master plan for this, is there? It was before the master planning process, is that right?
There was a master plan approved as part of the outline. So yeah,
okay, as part of the outline, but not through the master planning process.
Correct, yes, it was before that.
And the design code, I note you've made reference to it, but it predates the design code. How well would you say it complies with our design code that's recently adopted?
You can point to a number of different things that maybe features on different parts of the site. So, for instance, on the apartment blocks, we've got balconies. Certainly, in terms of the open space, it's delivering on a lot of the design code, and we had that in mind when we were negotiating with the applicant on that. So our urban designers were very much, obviously the design code was evolving. We were having those discussions. So it was definitely something we were trying to include.
And am I right in thinking the design hasn't been before the design review panel though?
It hasn't been. No.
Okay. I didn't think it had. And then one more question. The highest buildings, are they 3.5 story, 3 stories? They looked at least 3 stories.
They're three-story maximum, I think.
Okay.
Does actually refer to.
And they're set in the lower parts of the sites, the higher buildings.
Yes. The parameter plan set out that those taller buildings would be on the southern part of the site, which they are.
Okay. And just one more question about the SUDs. The SUDs are going to be an amenity area?
They are indeed. Both have been designed, again, in terms of design code, they are design code compliant. So they're multifunctional. And they include features for play, obviously, when not functioning as SUD spaces. So,
thank you.
Councillor Tom Tyson. Tom.
Thanks, Chair. Well, looking on the planning portal, I was struck by the very large numbers of superseded and revised documents. Is there a story behind that? Because I don't think I've seen quite so many proportionately before in an application, even of this scale. But does it signify something that was particularly fraught or difficult in the process of coming to the final resolutions that we're seeing at the moment?
No, the majority. So there was lots of work done around the layout of the site. A lot of the supporting documents included copies of the layout plan. So when the layout was updated, supporting documents were also updated with the more recent layout plan. But if you compare the original one with the now one before you, you will be able to see probably those changes. That's set out obviously in the report as well. the improvements that we negotiated.
And those improvements were in terms of design and materials, or
Yeah, certainly we worked hard with the developer around tenure neutrality on the affordable housing. So hopefully through the elevation drawings and the street scenes, you couldn't distinguish between the two types of housing there. Certainly there's a lot of work around the open spaces, which are high quality, we believe. And certainly around landscaping, trees, making sure we had mature trees along the primary road. They were semi-mature. So a lot of work's gone in from officers, ecologists, tree officer, urban designers in ensuring we have a high quality scheme here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David Winstanley. Dave.
Thanks, Chair. Kind of loosely related to appearance, on the elevations, there weren't any solar panels on the roofs. And I know that, I haven't had time to drill down into the supplementary document, but I know there's no regarding solar to be fleshed out to come later. Is that the case?
Sustainability was dealt with as an outline, as a condition on the outline permission. The applicant has provided a sustainability statement, and this week we received a addendum to that, and that proposes 4 solar panels to each unit, each house, and air source heat pumps as the main heating source.
Thank you. Councillor Emma Fernandez. Emma.
Yes, I just wondered if all the biodiversity net gain was delivered on site, and this plan, is it compliant with the amount it should have?
Yeah. So the biodiversity issues were dealt with by conditions, and these, although not discharged, have been agreed by the council's ecologist. So they are compliant, yes.
There has to be a management plan put in place to look after the site, presumably. Has that been agreed yet?
It hasn't. It's been submitted, so it's part of the Section 106 associated with the outline, but it has been submitted and it's under consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Louise Peace.
Thank you. So I can see we've got Batten Swift boxes of their condition 15 of the outline. Is there a plan for lighting to make sure that the rural edge has low-level lighting to support the wildlife that's in that area?
It's something that it's dealt with by condition again and is under consideration, and our ecologist is involved in ensuring that obviously along that eastern edge we have something that's sensitive to ecology.
Councillor Claire Strong.
Thank you. You did just briefly touched on the Section 106 agreement, which didn't seem as though it had been fully signed off. Should that not be part of the planning application?
So the Section 106 is part of the outline, the parent permission. So that sits kind of separately from the reserve matters. The reserve matters is only dealing with the layout, scale, appearance and landscaping here tonight. So they are matters that still need to be considered and discharged, but they sit outside of this application.
Councillor Strong, you don't want to ask a supplementary question?
No, I've been told it's outside of this application, although it was with the outline, but it just worries me that it's not been finalised.
Okay.
If it would help, what usually happens is Section 106 is signed off with the outline permission, and there'll be various obligations within there that the developer needs to comply with, and they would have various different triggers. So what Peter was saying, that something has been submitted, but it needs to be approved. So that is, it's in compliance with the Section 106 agreement. So the reserve matters is separate, but all the triggers in the 106 will need to be complied with.
Okay. Councillor Valbrand.
Thank you. I was interested in the non-market housing. I wonder if you could put the slide back up, because they were in orange and red, and I hadn't got time to actually tell them apart.
Go back to the slides, please. I think it's maybe 4 or 5 near the front.
It's that one, isn't it?
This shows it also, but not so maybe too clear. There's a separate plan. It's not coloured.
So it's on that
This is
one.
the one, yeah.
So they. Is there another one?
I'm pointing.
Do you want me to point?
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can see there's a little
That-
orange.
Yes, one day.
Waterfall.
They're red. They're red. They're red. Yellow. Yellow.
Blue.
Yellow. 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 2 feet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Miss. Is that helpful, Val? Cool. I have no more speakers from the questions from the committee. So I would ask, we have the public objector, Mr. Roger Lovegrove. Roger, you have 5 minutes and I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Is that okay? Yep. First of all, I'd like to apologise. You all seem to be planners, and here's me teaching grandmother to suck eggs, so I apologise for that. But I would like to see all these new estates in North Hertfordshire have no gas, no bricks, no energy bills, and no garages. I'd like to run through that. No energy bills can be achieved if a house is well insulated, has a roof capable of taking 4 kilowatts of solar panels, orientated between southeast and southwest. We understand there is now a post-submission response dated 5 days ago, which states that all the houses will have solar panels and air source heat pumps. 10 out of 10 for the air source heat pumps, but only 2 out of 10 for the solar panels. A lot of the panels are facing northwards. Why would you put a solar panel on a north-facing roof? It's beyond me. And the offer of only 1.6 to 1.8 kilowatts, which is what you get with 4 panels, is derisory, I'm afraid to say. Also, the larger buildings have little or no solar panels at all. To be a no-bills home, you need 4 kilowatts. I submit that it would be far better to install no solar panels and save the money, but redesign and reorientate the roofs so that the homes have the potential of becoming zero energy homes in the future, and when the grid is improved, to be able to take an estate generating what would be about 0.5 megawatt of power. Only about 40 appear to have this potential to be zero bill homes, and only then by scrapping the inbuilt panels, because the rafters have to be in different positions. No bricks. Bricks, to make them, involve a lot of CO2. Bricks are not good insulators. Brick walls are not waterproof, not airtight. Bricks do not support the weight of the rafters or the roof. And the only benefit is that they are 1, long-lasting, 2, the English home buyer likes bricks, and the building industry is hung up on bricks. Change with a capital C is required. In Scotland, 92% of new homes are wooden framed and not clad in bricks. In England, it's only 13%. Canada and Scandinavian countries do not primarily use bricks and have a far worse climate. Instead, we should be using wooden frames infilled with insulation, SIPs. These homes can meet higher eco standards and are quicker to build, typically 4 days. Octopus Energy has done it in 1 day. A brick cavity house typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. Moving on, no gas. It's good to hear that all the homes will now be heated by air source heat pumps. I'm not sure whether this means the whole estate will be no gas. Like the Heritage Foundation have assured us that LG1 will be totally no gas. No garages. 21st century cars do not need garages. They all need power points, but not in a garage. Instead, an unheated space, call it a shed, a lean-to or an outhouse, is required for wheelie bins, recycling, storage, bicycles, a workbench, even an office, but not a garage. The plan shows almost all of them in the back gardens, covering in some cases 50% of the back garden space. I refer specifically to plot 113 in the bottom corner. 50% is garage. Even the most common design plot number 1 has a garage covering 20% of the rear garden. Also, because being in the back gardens, they all have to have a drive. This means they need the drive covers about 2 to 3 times the area of the garage. That's so much waste space. To conclude, this estate is failing to meet a reasonable sustainability standard.
1 minute.
I've almost finished, thank you. Sustainability and self-sufficiency should take priority over appearance. You have declared a climate emergency. I trust all of you have watched the national emergency briefing of last November and been horrified, but hopefully motivated, by the high likelihood of losing the Atlantic Gulf Stream this century, AMOC. Just put AMOC, AMOC, into Google. And hence you will recognise the need to take up these new standards. No gas, no bricks, no bills, no garages. I strongly recommend you send the planners back to the drawing board on this estate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lovegrove. No apology was needed, and I think you're the first person I've ever known come and apologise to the committee for sharing their views with us, but it wasn't needed. Thank you anyway. Does the committee have any points of clarification for the public speaker? No? Okay. Then we will move on to the applicant's agent, Mr. Mark Osborne. Mark, you've got 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening regarding the reserve matters application before you for the erection of 120 homes on the allocate site LG3. This application was submitted in December 2025 and is pursuant to the outline planning permission granted in April. The outline planning permission comprised the following main parameters: up to 120 homes, 40% affordable dwellings, retention of the existing allotments, vehicular access via Flint Road, comprehensive landscaping scheme, and strategic master plan document, the LG3 design framework. The strategic master plan document approved under the outline planning permission established a clear site vision and defined placemaking principles. These principles have informed and guided the details of the layout, scale and appearance and landscape before you tonight. The proposals create a design that responds to the landscaping and built area of its setting, treading lightly by making best use of the existing assets already on or around the site. The design optimizes sustainability and encompasses future homes principles. The design enhances existing sustainable connections and has an internal structure to support links to this network. The design also supports social interaction and community principles. We have worked closely and positively with the Council and key consultees throughout, both prior to the submission and during determination. This has included pre-application discussions, engagement with the LLFA and highways, and public consultation, including the publication of a consultation page on the Letchworth Heritage Foundation's website. As a result of that collaborative approach, there are no key outstanding technical or statutory objections to this reserve matters application before you. It is, however, acknowledged that a few matters included in the officer's report to the committee require some clarification. 1, the rural edge lane design. The 3-metre width of the shared surface rural edge lane was the preference of officers following a post-submission workshop, a decision supported by Hertfordshire County Council. Updated tracking information prepared by our transport consultant confirms the layout of this lane is appropriate for fire appliances to access and manoeuvre. 2, solar PV strategy. Currently, there is no requirement in either Condition 19 of the Outline Planning Permission or local and national planning policy that requires us to build homes in accordance with the principles of Future Home Standards. However, Barratt David Wilson have voluntarily decided to construct highly sustainable dwellings to meet the principles of the Future Home Standard. We will install air source heat pumps and roof-mounted solar PV, which results in highly sustainable dwellings with excellent carbon reduction performance. Although it is a discharge of planning condition, we will be finalising the detailed design of dwellings over the coming weeks, and this will confirm the exact locations of the roof-mounted PV However, the drawing submitted demonstrates approximate locations for each dwelling. Refuse strategy. The proposed layout strategically uses some collection points to balance operational needs with high quality design, avoiding significant alterations to the development's character. The refuse strategy ensures most individual households present their bins curbside. For households without curbside collection points are provided within 30 metres of resident storage and 25 metres of the refuse vehicle. Informal play opportunities within woodland. There was a query on whether this would result in loss of trees. We can confirm that no trees will be lost putting in these play features. The provision of a watering point. A watering point is going to be provided and is in the allotment improvement plan, which has now been submitted. Overall, the reserve matter scheme delivers high quality architectural approach, which will preserve and enhance the landscape setting, whilst also ensuring the development responds positively to the surrounding context. Importantly, the proposal would deliver a meaningful and timely contribution to the Council's housing need. We hope you agree with your officer's recommendation and resolve to grant Reserve Matters Planning permission for this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osborne. Are there any points of clarification from members? Councillor Davids-Danny.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you. Can I just check further to Councillor Mantle's point earlier on about access to the village of Norton? I know that there's access onto the public right of way and also access negotiated into the school. But is there access for pedestrians and cyclists to the village of Norton?
So pedestrian access will run onto the public right of way to the north. That goes through the open space. We also have access points and a footpath through the woods, which will link to the existing network.
Thank you. And that existing public right of way that it will link onto, do you consider that to be sufficient for cycle use and pedestrian use year round?
Well, as part of the Section 106 agreed at outline stage, there are various upgrading works being provided to the public rights of way. And a scheme has been put forward to the officers recently to clarify that, as we want to discharge it.
Thank you. Any other further points of clarification to the applicant? Councillor Tyson. Tom.
Well, if no one else has got a question, I've got one, but it's just a detail really on the going back to the design question. I appreciate very much the references to the local vernacular in the use of the materials and the designs of the dwellings. One thing that struck me though when I was looking at the elevations was that one of the features I find particularly appealing about some of the Letchworth and arts and crafts designs in particular is I'm not quite sure what the term is for this, but the kind of flared eaves on the roofs. And I couldn't find any reference to that in the designs and the computer generated imagery on the documents in the portal. Was that first of all, am I making myself clear about what I mean? And those eaves, the kind of curved roof lines, and on the ridges as well in some cases. Was there a deliberate decision to disregard that particular feature of the local architectural style?
Okay. Also a conscious decision to do that. We followed
the mic. Sorry, if you could move the microphone, we can't hear you.
Yes. Sorry, it wasn't a conscious decision to do that. We very much followed. There was a design document as part of the outline planning permission, which set almost like a design code, a vision, and our architects followed that. And in conjunction with discussions with the officers, the design was further developed and detailed features were put in. So we have put in features that are part of the Garden City character. There are cat slide roofs. We've got in places larger windows, but other than a tile creasing detail in the gables, there's no other special detail.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Dave Bunsani. Dave.
Thanks, Chair. I noticed, and you mentioned it, and I noticed in the literature it refers to the development as an exemplar sustainable community, which is a pretty bold statement. It conjures images of an off-grid development with circular sort of draw on resource, a sort of circular in terms of the draw on resources. And picking up on some of the points from Mr. Lovegrove, I wondered if you could confirm, is there gas supply to the site? Do you believe the solar offering is future-proof? Is there battery storage planned? The water point that you mentioned, where does the water come from that will feed that point? Because if it's a sustainable community, I would imagine all those commodities, if you will be from within the site.
Well, I want those questions one at a time, or
yeah,
there's about 4 questions in there.
I think it would overstate to say that this is a self-sufficient development as it stands. But what we have put into this is way above what current legislation requires developers to do so. And quite rightly that we should try and do that. So there won't be any gas. It's all air source heat pumps. With regards to the PV, we are putting some on the houses. The locations of those PV units will be finalised in greater detail through discharge conditions. There are charging points for the cars. We are doing as much as I think any developer is currently doing in the UK, and this site shows that. But to say it's totally self-sufficient, I think would be inaccurate. With regard to the watering point, it's a watering point that we will be supplying as part of the allotment improvement plan, which when we will be giving the allotments some new facilities, some toilets, some storage facilities, and water supply will be put into at that point, and that water supply will then be tapped in and used to maintain the landscaping on our development, as well as supplying those allotment users. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have no more questions to the applicant. In which case, can I invite the officer to respond to any of the issues raised?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just coming back to the connection. So on the outline application, the footpath improvements along Flint Road were set at 2 meters, but through negotiation, we've managed to secure a 3-meter wide path, which will provide options for both cyclists and pedestrians. So we're conscious of the needs to connect the site to the surrounding urban area and existing services. So we've spent a lot of time with the applicant to ensure that that is optimized. That's secured through the Section 106, but the layout takes account of what happens outside of the site. Coming to the point around the splayed roof details Councillor Tyson mentioned. So this is obviously it's inspired by the arts and crafts Garden City principles. It's not slavishly kind of following those principles. So as I think the applicant has set out, that you've got good detailing around the dwellings, although that is obviously not included. I think if you visited the site when it's built, you would clearly think, or you're in Letchworth Garden City. So thanks.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, the officer's recommendation is that the reserve matters be approved. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, along with the material planning reasons, I shall be proposing that we approve permission. Okay, I'm not seeing an alternative. Therefore, I propose that we approve the reserve matters subject to A, providing delegated powers to the Development and Conservation Manager to update conditions with minor amendments as required. B, the conditions as outlined within the report. The additional condition 4 outlined in the supplementary documents, and any conditions recommended by Herts County Council Highways. May I have a seconder? Councillor Fernandez.
Happy to second, Chair. Reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. So do we have any debate? No, I am seeing no debate. So we will move to a vote. The recommendation is to approve the application.
Chair, that motion is carried unanimously.
Thanks, James. Okay, I'll pause just 1 second to allow if the speakers from that meeting wish to leave. They're welcome to stay, of course, should they like to, but yep. Item 6 is application 2503153 FP, land to the east of 2 West Lane, Purton, Hertfordshire. So Vice Councillor Claire Strong has declared an interest, I believe, and has moved to the public speaking gallery. May I ask Anne MacDonald to present, please? Anne.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I have no updates for this item. As already been said, this application has been presented to committee tonight as it has been called in by Councillor Strong. So this application is for the retention of hard standing and gravel driveway area that has been laid on the site for the proposed works of a new vehicle access and the landscaping. The use of the site for a mobile home is not for consideration, as this is the lawful use of the site as confirmed by a lawful development certificate that was granted in 1995. Can we move to the first slide, please? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can we go to the site location plan? Yeah, there we are. Thank you very much. I got that. This is the site location plan showing the location of the site on the north side of West Lane. Next slide, please. So this is the site outlined in blue, taken from the local plans map, and shows that the site is outside of but adjacent to the Purton Village settlement boundary in the rural area beyond the Greenbelt. The orange hatching on the map is part of the conservation area as set out in the local plans map. Next slide, please. However, the conservation area in Purton was extended in June 2023 and obviously now runs adjacent to the application site, which is a bit difficult to see, but just on the north side of the site. It shows that the site is largely outside of the conservation area, apart from the very frontage of the site. Next slide, please. So this shows the site before the current occupier felled the landscaping on the lane frontage. As can be seen, the site was very verdant. There were no trees preservation orders on the site, and it is unclear if the bushes that had been felled and were within the site, so therefore outside of the conservation area, or within the frontage, and so would have been within the conservation area. Consent from the council was not sought for the removal of the trees or the front along the frontage. However, even if an application had been made to remove those shrubs on the frontage, in my view, that as none of that is worthy of TPO protection, we would not have resisted the felling of those trees. As a result, there's no planning objection to the removal of the landscaping. Next slide, please. This is now as the site appears today. The area of hard standing has been laid to the rear of the site where the mobile home is located, with the gravel driveway connecting down to the lane. Next slide, please. This is the proposed site plan. Herts Highways are not objecting to the creation of the vehicle crossover, subject to informatives which are recommended. Please note the removal of the front fence with a new hedge to be planted along the frontage. 11 trees are to be planted along the driveway and 4 trees rear the driveway area. As set out in the report, there's no objection to the area of hard standing or the gravel driveway. This amount of hard standing is similar to an area of hard standing on the neighbouring site number 2 and is not considered to be out of context locally or harmful to the aspirations of policy CGB1, which sets out acceptable development limits within the rural area beyond the greenbelt. The tree and hedge planting is supported as this will provide soft landscaping and screening to the site and lane and can be considered an improvement to the site as existing. With regard to the recently refused application, this application is considered to overcome the reasons for refusal due to Highways now supporting the scheme, the removal of the front fence line which is objected to, and the proposed tree and hedgerow planting which will result in an improved visual appearance to the site. The application is therefore recommended for approval subject to 6 conditions set out in the report. These conditions require for full details of the hedgerow mix and tree species to be planted, along with an ecological enhancement plan for the site. The application is therefore recommended for approval. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any points of clarification.
Does the committee have any questions for the planning officer? Councillor Tyson.
Thanks for that, Anne. Is there any mention of a recommended minimum height for the hedge at the front?
So there's a landscaping condition recommended, and those details will need to be agreed as part of the landscaping condition. As part of, so it's not known at this time, no, but it's something that will be sought by condition.
Is that potentially something that we could condition this evening?
I think it's difficult to. I think it'd be difficult to propose minimum height because obviously you need to plant saplings that are going to establish. I guess we could probably put a condition on. In my view, I don't think it'd be reasonable to put a condition on requiring a minimum height of a hedgerow because obviously things take time to grow and become established. So I think I'll probably have to say no to that, in my view. We can put a condition on, though, I'm not sure if it's, I can double check the report, requiring if any trees die within 5 years and they can be replaced, planting is replaced. So we can put a landscape protection condition on rather than a minimum size.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit as well. So perhaps we'll just wait until the debate for that, for further thoughts on that. Okay.
No further points of clarification. Right. So we have heard we heard apologies earlier from Purton Parish Council, which have been noted. So I have a member advocate, Councillor Claire Strong. Councillor Strong, you have 5 minutes. I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to make the committee, I'm sure you've read the report, but just again for the awareness, the history of the site. In 78, 92, 94, 95, all applications for dwellings were refused multiple times. A caravan was effectively parked on what was a field. And to regularise this is when the development of a certificate of lawful development was given. And this was for a caravan on that site. It was for a caravan, and to me the definition of a is 1, not 2, and therefore I think I have difficulty with the condition 2, which talks about the mobile home and an additional mobile home. I think it should only be 1 because that is what the certificate was lawfully granted for. The small caravan, which is towards the back of the site, was, however, replaced with a much larger static mobile home. The static dwelling, the site has been cleared right from the front, right the way to where this static dwelling has now been placed. And a large area of what I can only describe, I think is described as gravel, has it been introduced. Highways comments that any surface arrangement should be in accordance with the DCLG guidance of a permanent surfacing of front gardens and should be surfaced to LPA approved durable bound material. I don't know that gravel is a bound, but effectively what has happened is a site that was green and formed a transition from when you look, if you used to look at it before the sort of the trees grew up, you've seen green that would go through to the fields beyond. This site is outside of the village boundary, although it is between two properties. There are comments in the reports on the web about the proportionate of hard standing. The hard standing for this, the footprint of this mobile home, in my view, is excessive. If you were building a new property, you would have a front garden. You might have a drive-in and some parking, but you wouldn't continue to have complete hard standing right up to the property. It's a huge area, and of what has effectively taken out green space and made it gravel. This really is a new development because the old caravan, I think, and again, the notes I got from the parish council, after the certificate was granted, the occupant died around 2000, 2002, and the caravan, the little caravan that was there, was left to rot, and there was not a continued use. As I said, if you come back to the certificate, it is ambiguous because it does say that it is for the retention to continued use. So there was no continued use from about 2002 till today. If you then deal with it as a new building, then I would have expected within the hard standing to have been an electrical vehicle charging point, because that is what we require with all new builds that are put into our district. The landscaping that is planned, the area of drive seems to be completely disproportionate to the size of the site. Yes, the neighbouring properties have quite a large hard standing, but their properties are large and detached. The street scene on Long West Lane has dramatically changed, which I think you saw from the slides that you saw. And so this application is trying to regularise the work that has been unlawfully taken place and to try and restore the site to what it was. But this is overdevelopment of the site with all of this hard standing. It's to the sides, it's behind the new mobile, and in the front, and with the huge drive. The previous refusal for the application said it was contrary to the policy CGB1 of North Herts local plan.
1 minute.
Thank you. And if you also look at the previous plans for this, which were refused recently, I can't see that this hard standing in this new application has actually been reduced in any way, shape or form. Perhaps I'd like the officer perhaps to comment on what reduction of hard standing there now is. The impact is adverse to what was refused previously. I think the parish council really do feel that this is not appropriate development to the village. There's also some concerns they have over the comments about the existing right of way down the side of the property. There's also concerns from the parish council about the lighting and septic tanks, because they're disappointed that there's no comments about the lighting issues. I'll read what they said. It's been lit up like Wembley Arena hosting Madonna, and it has disturbed not only the nighttime wildlife, but the neighbours as far away as Royal Oak Lane. And it's worrying to say the least that provision for human waste is not yet appropriately provided for. Again, these are actions that I think NHDC needs to take in terms of enforcement of what development has gone on the site. But in terms of this application, the hard standing, it's gone from green to orange.
You could sum up. Okay. And you did. Thank you.
Trust me, Mark Nigel.
Yeah, that's what they all say. Do we have any points of clarification for members for Councillor Strong? I should say I think Madonna's far too big to play Wembley Arena these days. Definitely the stadium. But, any questions? No. Thank you. So I would invite the officer to respond to any of the issues raised. Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I nearly missed the applicant. I can only apologise. It's been a long day. No problem at all. Sorry. If I can call on the applicant's agent, Mr. Tony White. Tony, you've got 5 minutes. I'll let you know you've got a minute left.
Good evening. Firstly, I apologise for repeating points already made by the case officer. This report was prepared ahead of hearing what was said this evening. The application before you this evening is to facilitate works at an existing residential caravan site that benefits from lawful planning consent for the use of the land as a residential caravan site. This consent was granted by the council in 1995 by way of a certificate of existing lawful use. This creates a caravan site and there were no specific restrictions on numbers of caravans, despite what you may have heard earlier. The applicants have not sought to change the use of the land or introduce a new caravan site use. That is a lawful use that can continue. Any comments or objections referencing this being a previously undeveloped agricultural field or nil use to these applicants having unlawfully changed the use of this land to a caravan site are factually inaccurate and a misrepresentation of the planning position. I respectfully refer you to the Council Planning Officer's report at 4.3.7 for confirmation of the same. The property is therefore a lawful residential caravan site with all of the necessary permissions. This does not disappear as suggested if a period of vacancy arose during the period suggested. The application proposal before you this evening seeks only to provide improvements to the existing site. These improvements are to access arrangements, the driveway and hard standing on site together with the landscaping. The proposal is to provide the property with its own private access as opposed to the existing shared access. Herts Highways have no objection to the proposal following the submission of detailed documents as part of this application, which clearly demonstrates the proposed site access is safe and suitable for the intended use, mirroring that of the neighbouring properties regardless of the size. Character of the area. The application site is located outside of the conservation zone, but within its setting. There are no listed buildings within a zone of influence. The applicants have responded positively to the previous reasons for refusal and introduced features and landscaping to successfully mitigate previously judged adverse impacts resulting from the fencing and driveway, such as the introduction of a grass verge, which aligns with the objectives of the Conservation Area Management Improvement Plan. These landscaping features go much further than simply improving the direct proposal impacts. They also enhance the overall visual impacts resulting from the lawful caravan site and go even further by enhancing the on-site biodiversity. The proposed hedgerow secured by condition will be an established and instant hedge. In summary, the previously refused application listed 5 reasons for refusal, all of which the case officer has comprehensively addressed in their report, and concludes that each of them in turn has been overcome as a result of this latest application. In the event that this committee disagrees with the assessment made by the case officer and they vote to refuse planning permission, then the gains to biodiversity and landscaping will be lost. The use of the land as a lawful residential caravan site will continue. In supporting the case officer's recommendation to approve with conditions, you ensure that tight controls are imposed upon this property that delivers significant and immediate planning gains. Condition 2 seeks to tightly control the type and number of caravans permitted on site, something which the existing lawful use is unable to effectively do, meaning as it presently stands, this site could be occupied by a larger number of caravans. Clearly, there is a benefit to introducing tighter controls through imposing planning conditions as a part of this recommended consent that delivers clarity for the neighbouring residents, which are lost in the event that this application is refused. Despite what you've heard this evening, there is no ambiguity to the certificate of lawful use. In order for a number of caravans to be restricted, it would have to specify a specific number. It does not. I hope that this committee recognises the level of work that the applicant has submitted to address the previous reasons for refusal, alongside and together with the planning gains proposed, moving to support the officer's recommendation to approve the application with conditions as set out in the report before you. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening on behalf of the applicants, and I will happily answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. White, and apologies again for trying to exclude you from the debate. Are there any points of clarification from members for the applicant's agent? Councillor Val Bryant. Val.
Thank you. First of all, I read here that it benefits from a lawful certificate for siting of a single static caravan. And you've expressed that in fact it doesn't actually specify how many caravans.
Yes, madam. The certificate doesn't specify a single caravan. It says a caravan. In planning professional law, it would require a specific number in order for you to prevent it from having more than one caravan on it.
So A isn't singular then.
It would be an unambiguous condition that you would find it very difficult to defend at appeal, ma'am.
I'm surprised. It's the first time I've heard that. But there again, you learn something every day, don't you? Next question. I visited the site today. There are 2 caravans. Which of these caravans is actually the home of the applicant?
Are you referring to one static, one touring caravan, ma'am?
Yes.
The static caravan.
Thank you. So the touring caravan belongs to the applicant.
Correct.
Right. My next is an observation on visiting that Councillor Strong talked about orange. It is very orange in an area which is verdant, startlingly so. But in the middle of the drive, there's now a circle which has got some sort of protective fences around it. What is that circle? What is it for?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you reference. However, what I would say is anything that's there that is not part of the approved plans will go.
Right. So at the moment, between the static, as you drive in, between the static caravan is in front of you, the normal caravan is to the right. There is a large circle which has got protective fencing as if something's being built. I thought it might be a circle, like a turning circle. It's that size.
I'm sorry, I've no idea what you're referencing. I don't know if you have a picture you can point to. Or
I'm sorry, I didn't take a picture because I thought you might live there and know about this. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I can't help you any further. I've no idea what it is.
There is one there. Because my next point was about the turn. Because I thought, it's a turning circle, which actually be a really good idea because then you could actually turn around and get back onto the road, which was a starting point from there. I thank you. You've answered my queries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Val. Councillor Emma Fernandez. Emma.
You mentioned that it would be an instant hedge that you were planting. So I'm guessing this is mature planting. I wondered what kind of species, if you were going to choose native species in like the hedging that was removed.
Absolutely, madam. It will be a native hedge, instant hedge, and there is a condition imposed in soft and hard landscaping which will deal with all of the details, but it's perfectly acceptable for your landscaping officer to require the mix and species. So it'll be a standard mix of native species at staggered distances, tightly staggered. So rather than being 3 per metre, it'll probably be in the order of 5 per metre staggered, and there'll be no less than 6 foot we would propose, because the instant hedge is required to mitigate the landscape impacts.
Councillor Tom Tyson. Tom.
Thanks. Sorry to keep banging on about the hedges, but the thing that caught my eye was in your planning statement. There's a mocked up, somewhat idealised image of what things could look like, and the hedge there is possibly just a metre high, and it obviously has a kind of softening effect on the overall setting. But I was just thinking, and I had to have visited the site, and it's a terrible shame that the existing hedge was ripped out in the way that it was. But if a hedge was replaced there, that could be required to attain a certain height after a certain period of time. I don't know what the technicalities are that might prevent us as a planning authority from conditioning that. But do you think that the applicant would be amenable to agreeing that as a recommendation?
Sorry, if I understand you correctly, after a certain period of time, the hedge must be at a certain height.
let's say 1.8 meters, for example, is that something that?
Well, they would happily plant a 6 foot hedge. That's not an issue. I think in terms of the reasonable tests under and your officer will be able to give you more advice on this, but when you impose conditions, they have to pass certain tests, and I don't think it would meet the reasonable test to say that it has to be a certain height at a certain period, because obviously it can grow at different rates, etc. But in terms of planting, an instant hedge with details secured by condition at a planting interval of, say, 5 per metre, staggered lines, and this is all detail that would be submitted as part of a landscaping plan: type, mix, height, securing the replacement if they were to die, etc. That is all perfectly reasonable to put in under the landscaping condition that you've got at present. But I'm not sure that you could specifically stipulate that it needs to be by a certain date, a certain height, if that makes sense. I think that would stray outside of what's reasonable. But I do believe that the condition you've got at present, and knowing when we submit detail, you would absolutely get the hedge that you're looking for in the density, and it would be what we call an instant hedge, rather than a sapling that in a native hedge takes 15 years to grow. And I understand your concerns entirely. If you plant a native hedge in sapling form, you wouldn't see any form of meaningful hedge there probably for 15 years, and that's not what we're proposing. We're proposing an instant hedge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Claire Winchester. Claire.
Thank you. Can you confirm when you would be planting this instant hedge? And can we specify that it must go in by a certain date?
I think it's perfectly reasonable for the condition to contain the word in the first planting season following consent, or by a certain date. You know, there's planting times. I'm not familiar with the exact times, but I believe it's towards the end of the year and the start of the year, and it's normally that you would require they be planted the first planting season following consent.
Thank you. I've got no more members indicating. So if I could ask the officer to respond to any of the issues raised, and perhaps to head off some questions you could pick up.
Thank you.
I think it's condition.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now that's after this. I believe it's for the debate rather than for after the officers. Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you to pick up? I think it's condition 4 on the landscaping and tree thing.
So there's actually 2 landscaping conditions proposed. So condition 3 requires for within 3 months of the date of consent for full details of a comprehensive hard and soft landscaping scheme, including planting details and timescales for planting and implementation, to be submitted and agreed. And then condition 4 requires for the approved soft landscaping details to be carried out in accordance with the timescale to be agreed. Then also there's the replacement part of the condition there, which says any trees or plants which within a period of 5 years from the date of the approval they die, they must be replaced. So in my view, those 2 conditions are quite robust, and I think they do provide the certainty that the questions have been asking about. So was there anything else anybody wanted me to touch on?
Councillor Root.
I wanted to know if anything could be done about the orange gravel.
The gravel is being sought to be retained as is. In my view, the landscaping will provide significant screening, so it won't be so visually strident as it is as now, and is suitable mitigation in my view.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So we are going to move towards debate. So at which point my note definitely says that Councillor Strong has to leave the chamber for the debate and the vote. Claire. I think this is the procedure we follow now. I believe so.
I shall go and read the Constitution now.
We've left a copy out there for you. Yeah, I think we've had various versions of this procedure, Claire. And this seems to be the latest one. Thanks, Claire. Okay, the officer's recommendation is that the permission be granted. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, along with the material planning reasons, I shall be proposing that we grant permission. Okay, I'm not seeing any lights. Therefore, I propose that we grant planning permission subject to the conditions as outlined within the report. May I have a seconder? Councillor Flanders.
I'm happy to second, Chair, and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Do we have any debate? Okay, we have no debate, so we will move to the vote. The recommendation is that permission is granted.
Thank you, Chair. That's carried.
Thank you. We need to recover Councillor Strong from a very brief exile. I'd also suggest we take a 5-minute break at this point, if we may. Okay, we shall proceed. Welcome back, Councillor Strong, after your very brief interlude. So if I get the right page. Item 7, application 2600403 S73 151C Bearton Road, Hitchin. Melissa Tyler to present. Melissa.
Thanks, Chair. Just wanted to make a point of clarification before my presentation. The proposed extension of operation hours on Sundays from 4 till 8 should be assessed on its own merits with particular regard to the scale of the operation, the nature of the surrounding area and any potential impacts on residential amenity. While it is acknowledged that a separate takeaway premises within the locality has been subject to enforcement action due to adverse impacts arising from late night trading, it is important to note that each planning application must be determined independently and based on its own specific, circumstances. Will you go to my presentation, please? Okay, so the application site comprises a two-storey building currently used as a hot food takeaway on the ground floor. It's situated on the north side of Bearton Road, adjacent to the junction with Brampton Park Road, within a small terrace of commercial properties, which include another hot food takeaway and a general store. Next slide, please. The premises is the red fronted shopfront sited between Premier Stores and Uptown Pizza. You can just see the corner of Brampton Park Road on the corner on the right. Next slide, please. So these photos are all pretty similar. A more front-facing photo showing the scale of the property in the street scene. And next slide, please. Different view looking up Bearton Road, showing the parking bay to the front of the site along Bearton Road. And next slide, please. And this is just a close-up of the parking restrictions of that bay in front. Loading only Monday to Saturday, 8 till 6. That's the end of my slides. Having regard to the site history, relevant planning policies, consultation responses and representations received, considered that the proposed Sunday opening hours limited to a 4-hour period between 4 and 8 p.m. and restricted delivery only operation represents a materially different and more constrained form of development compared to previously refused schemes. The reduced duration and nature of the operation are such that any associated comings and goings, including those of delivery drivers, will be limited in frequency and intensity. Furthermore, no objections have been raised by environmental health in respect of noise and disturbance. In order to appropriately monitor the impact of the development and address any unforeseen amenity issues, it is considered reasonable and necessary to grant permission on a temporary basis for a period of 12 months. This will enable local planning authority to assess the effects of the Sunday operation before considering any application for a permanent arrangement. Conditions for hours of operation, temporary use and delivery only have been recommended. Thanks, Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Do the committee have any questions for the planning officer? Councillor Peace, Louise.
So if permission is granted for the 12 months, what happens at the end of the 12 months? Would a permanent application have to come back before this committee?
I don't know whether it would automatically come to committee. It would probably, if it be called in.
Any other questions for the officer? No. In which case, I will call the member advocate, Councillor Ian Albert. Ian, you have 5 minutes and I will let you know when you have a minute left.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, committee. And obviously thanks to the applicant who's also here with us this evening. In Bearton Wood, we're lucky to have many high-quality hospitality businesses. I think Matthew is one of those, with quality food is undoubtedly there. Indeed, if you look at reviews, I think I've said you've got the best takeaway curry in Hitchin. But of course, other takeaways are available. It's But what is also important to say, it's really sad to see that a long-established business like Rajduth in Hermitage Road is closing. Incredibly sad. And I absolutely accept and understand the importance of the viability of local hospitality businesses for our community and indeed for our employment. There are 3 businesses in this area of Bearton Road. Planning permissions, as the planning officer said, have largely dated back to the mid-1990s, although there have been some past attempts to change them, all of which have been rejected. Premier Stores opens 7 days a week, 8 till 1 on a Sunday. Uptown Pizza have planning permission to open 6 days a week, but as the planning officer has said, have been acting in breach of this by opening until late and on a Sunday. And here we have obviously the applicant here who has been acting lawfully and keeping him within their current 6-day opening. The planning officer has recommended a trial of Sunday opening for 1 year. And on the surface, I think that seems acceptable. And in many ways, I don't disagree with that conclusion. I note the comments of some nearby residents in Bearton Road. They comment this is a good and well-run business. Again, I absolutely don't disagree. But the biggest impact of Sunday opening is less on Bearton Road residents, but actually round the corner on Brampton Park Road. Members need to understand the cumulative impact this change will have, particularly for residents in Brampton Park Road. This is where delivery vehicles and bikes assemble and wait late into the night. Clearly not under this proposal, but obviously at another business. And particularly, this is where the majority of noise, etc., from food preparation in the kitchen. The back door to the unit, which faces onto Brampton Park Road, has been left open, especially in hot weather. And it's obviously speaking to the applicant. I know that he may well sort of refer to this in his submission, that obviously he is looking to make sure that's changed and has taken action around that. Because there have been, as you'll see from the application, kitchen noise, banging of utensils, staff voices, and so on. And clearly that some objections around the operation activities are extending outside the building, including the use of the external storage facilities. And that does create that additional nuisance and loss of residential amenity to neighbours. There are concerns that proposed delivery-only Sunday operation would be difficult to monitor and enforce effectively. And again, maybe perhaps the applicant can comment, because clearly, obviously, whilst it suggests just in-house driver, obviously it is available via Just Eat and Deliveroo. So again, obviously, it might not just be an in-house driver, but the applicant might well be able to comment a little more on that. But what we do know that Sunday opening has increased traffic, vehicle movements, parking pressures, and noise disturbance. There have been concerns around highway and pedestrian safety from some fairly erratic behaviour of delivery drivers, and concerns that the additional Sunday evening trading would harm the quiet residential character of the area. Other objections talk about a precedent for neighbouring takeaways, and I take the planning officer's point about that. Others might seek similar Sunday opening permissions, but clearly, obviously, in moment residents are saying that these cumulative impacts upon them of opening on a Sunday are affecting their quality of life and sleep. Now, I know that the committee here will live and die by the local plan condition D3. This is what you're all about, and you all come here. You know that planning permission will be granted for development proposals which don't cause unacceptable harm. And clearly, obviously, if in trying to improve that, the council will take mitigation measures to reduce that harm where possible. I think there are dangers of setting a precedent in allowing this, but I recognise that in proposing a mitigation here, the planning officer should be for delivery only, and should be approved for 1 year. I think that's welcome, but as I said earlier, not easy to enforce delivery only. If the committee is minded to accept that, I think the mitigations need to go slightly further. This is where I disagree with the comments of the environmental health team. There has been noise, has been an issue particularly for Brampton Park residents. So it was possible I would at least ask that the applicant, the committee, consider an additional condition to require the back door to be kept closed while food preparation is taking place, other than to access external storage. And clearly, this issue of whether it is just in-house delivery and is restricted is important. But thanks for the applicant for that, and thanks committee for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Councillor Albert. Are there any points of clarification from members for Councillor Albert? No? Okay. In which case, I would call on the applicant, Mr. Abdul Mumin. You have 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I just recently come back from my pilgrimage. We were supposed to be holding this meeting 2 weeks back, I believe. That's when I requested my daughter and my brother to come in for me, as I wouldn't have been here. Luckily for them, it was discharged today, hence why I'm here. So I'll be honest with you. I've come in with the hope that you guys will look at a small business like me and give me the opportunity to thrive in a place such as Hitchin. On the questions that were proposed about the back door, I've looked at the notes that were put on by the residents on the website, and we acted upon them straight away. I've made sure that the back door is closed from the day that I've noticed the objection. I've also made sure my team understand that, and they work towards not making much noise. I've also told the boys, because we have a shed at the back, I've told them that they can only open that shed once as soon as they get in, and then on the way out they use it again to put everything back, and so reduction of noise is limited. On regards to delivery, I have 3 other businesses. I've got one in St. Neots, I've got one in Hemel, a small place in Apsley, one in Cranfield, and now in Hitchin. They're all under the same name, called Methy. Methy with whatever place that I'm situated. We are a bunch of people that we make sure we want to stay wherever we go for a long time. So you guys need to be happy with me so I can stay. So we put you guys, the residents of wherever we are, at the forefront of how we deal with things. We have certain ethics that we go by. We smile at everybody. Simple stuff, really, but quite difficult and sometimes forgetful. We always smile. We present ourselves in the best way possible. And we make sure everybody has a good day, regardless of how the day may have gone. We always make sure everybody works together and is happy. So whoever comes in, they're always happy with us. Coming back to the ethics, we can use external delivery drivers, i.e. Just Eat, Uber Eats, because they do present delivery drivers. But I don't want to take the risk in regards to the ethics that we hold. So we have our own delivery drivers. Mind you, on Sunday, we will be only using one. We are hopeful that we'll be getting about 12 deliveries throughout the 4 hours. Being a small business as it is, and
1 minute,
with all due respect, you guys will know more than me. There are plenty of Indian takeaways and restaurants around. Although Ian did say that my one was deemed to be the best. I like to think that, being 5'5", but yeah, we like to use our own delivery drivers, just so that no one has any questions on regards to how we deal with things. So we have full control of our own business. All I request is for you to give me a opportunity. Small businesses like us, we need as much time as we can in the business, operating the business. So that's all I would say. Thank you very much for giving me the time. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak to everybody here. I've not had the opportunity before like this to meet you guys, especially in Hitchin. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any points of clarification for members for the applicant? Councillor Claire Strong. Claire.
Well, it's a question really. I was interested about the door, the back door, and the fact that if it's left open, there's a noise issue. Do you not have, on fire doors and that, there's normally one of those self-closing things that are on, which means it, or do you have one of those on your back door?
No, we don't, but we can put one on.
Oh, I like the sound of that. I think that will be something that we know then that there's no question of anybody leaving it open. It would self-close.
We like to play ball. Whatever request that you have, we would fulfill that within reason, of course. But yeah, we've not got one on as yet. But if needs be, we can put one on.
Okay. Do we have any other points of clarification? No. In which case, I'd like to invite the officer to respond to any issues raised. Lucy.
Thanks, Chair. Just wanted to clarify. I did state in my report at 4.2.18 about additional conditions in regards to the back door and in-house delivery drivers, and they wouldn't necessarily meet the tests of conditions and it wouldn't really be enforceable, hence why I didn't add them. Just wanted to clarify on that.
Thank you. Okay, the officer's recommendation is the permission be granted. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, along with material planning reasons, I shall be proposing that we grant permission. Okay, therefore I propose that we grant planning permission, subject to the conditions as outlined within the report. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Ian Mantle. Okay. At which point we move into debate. Anyone? Nope. I got confused by my Claire saying Claire Billy.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question of the planning officer regarding the noise from the property when the door's left open, and that was to do with whether environmental health could monitor the noise from the property over the next year.
So the point of doing a 1-year temporary permission is for any issues that are raised. So if noise complaints are made to environmental health, then they will get picked up at that point. And then obviously if a subsequent planning application came in for a more permanent situation, then the environmental health would have those on file to comment on. But unless noise reports are made, complaints are made, and then they would follow up as a separate position to planning.
Thank you. Councillor Dave Winstanley. Dave.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, in my view, this takeaway is run very respectfully, sorry. And whilst it might not be preferable to all the immediate neighbours, I do agree with the supporters that have registered their support. I don't believe it would create an unacceptable harm. That's the test here. It's for 4 hours. It's you can't deny it's a sociable time. One delivery driver, delivery only, and there's the 12-month trial. And I really do welcome the applicant's comments about trying to do their best to keep the door shut. It just seems I love how amenable he is to the issues that have been raised. So I will definitely be supporting this.
Thanks, Dave. Councillor Claire Strong.
Yes, from what I understood from the officer, we couldn't condition that there was a self-closing gadget thing on the the exterior kitchen door. In a way, I'd kind of rather like that, because if there is any noise reported, then it could only be reported if the door has been, the gadget has been, if you like, overridden, and then the door has then been deliberately left open, but because it has been, something would have to obstruct it from closing, which is why and I think the fact that the applicant said he was very happy to put one of those gadgety things on the door. I think, if that is there and it's noted that has done to try and mitigate and reduce the noise, because anybody going in and out the door, you have to do it rather quickly, or the door kind of gets you. So I just really, whether could we condition it?
Yes, we could put such a condition on. The only thing that's come dinging in my head is often they're a bit snappy. So you might find that it's not doesn't necessarily solve the problem, might create a problem. So I think possibly, as the applicant has said that he's going to maintain a practice of closing the door, I think that might be better, rather than we've all seen them having they ding and snap, and they have those self closes on them. So my only caution is that could create a problem rather than solve a problem.
Well, I know what you say, but if you've got an internal fire door on any building, you have to have one, because that's a building regulation. I've got one from my garage to my house, and I wouldn't say it dings. But you just have to hold it while you're going through, and then it closes behind you. And that, to me, is the only way we could ensure that the door is closed. I mean, otherwise you open the door and you go out, you forget to close it, but you can't forget to close it. You can only if it's going to close behind you, and they're very different ones. So I'd like to see that, because if there's then comes back and there's concerns from residents about noise, then we wouldn't from a planning point of view, would know that the noise we have already tried to mitigate noise coming from the kitchen by having such a gadget. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, I'm a bit blah blah about it. I couldn't get my words out.
Just before Nazanin comes, I'm just going to make the point. I'm slightly I wouldn't want us to get into too much sort of micro details. I think we are agreeing that we want the applicant to make every effort to limit the noise, and clearly they have a vested interest into doing it, given it's going to potentially come back. So I'm just slightly nervous about how much detail we go to, but I'll let Nazanin know.
Thank you, Chair. This evening we have already spoken about when conditions are imposed, they need to meet 6 tests. Melissa already referred to enforceability being one, and I would say reasonable is probably another one. I appreciate that the applicant is trying to be amenable and saying, he's open to putting one on, but unfortunately we can't impose conditions, because somebody, like the applicant, is saying he's open to doing that. What we have to look at here is environmental health haven't raised any concerns, so it would be difficult to justify imposing a condition when our own environmental health experts haven't raised any concerns in that regard. So it's difficult to see how it would meet the 6 tests when imposing conditions, unfortunately.
Thanks for that, Nazanin. I'm certain it's said Councillor Valbright. It's coming. It's going on and off here. It's just.
I was swayed by Councillor Strong's arguments, and then I listened to Nazanin, and I was swayed by Nazanin, so I turned my button off.
Thank you, Councillor Bryant. Do we have any further debate? No? Okay.
Very
that's
very late on. I was just wondering what kind of status the applicant's comments about the one driver and the 12 deliveries per Sunday would have in terms of what happens in 12 months' time. Is that going to be monitored, or is it not a relevant factor, particularly given as an informal promise? I don't know what the status of that might have.
The application is obviously for the hours, and the intensity of the use will be something that will be considered when they come back in 12 months' time. So ultimately, we're taking what's been said on good faith. The environmental health officer is taking it on good faith, and we're happy that we consider that the 4 hours proposed will not have unacceptable harm in the locality. Ultimately, if the intensity is of such that I think as the council does get complaints from neighbouring properties, when this year runs out, then the application is made to renew it. They will be lodged as objections against the application, and we might take a different view in a year's time.
Okay. If there's no further debate, then the proposal in front of us is to grant planning permission subject to the conditions as outlined with the report. If we could vote on that, please.
Thank you, Chair. That's carried unanimously.
Thank you. So the next application in front of us is TP 00226 2026 Land Mill Lane, St Hippolytes. Frank Mabbott to present.
Thank you, Chair. There's no updates, so can we start the presentation, please? Thank you. First slide, it's an aerial view of the site location. Mill Lane can be seen to the north of the site, with Mill Road to the southwest and London Road to the east. Next slide, please. This is a close-up of the site with the position of the TBO trees marked in red. TBO consists of 4 individual trees, T1 to T4, and 4 groups of trees, G1 to G4. G4 in the north corner of the site, at the top right, you can see, is the area of trees that are subject to the objection, with a request to modify the TPO to exclude a number of trees within that group. Next slide, please. This photo shows the view of the trees from Mill Road looking north. T1 is a hornbeam. G1 is a group of 3 hornbeam. And G3 includes 2 hornbeam and 1 sycamore. Next slide, please. This is a view of the trees from London Road looking northeast. T2 is a lime tree. And G4 consists of 5 horse chestnuts, 3 oak trees, 7 walnut, and 12 lime. Next slide, please. This is a view from the south of the site looking north, and it shows the screening provided to Mill Lane by G4. Mill Lane is directly behind G4. T3 is an oak tree on the right-hand side, and that's adjacent to London Road. Next slide, please. This is G2. This is taken from within the site. It consists of 3 oak trees, but only 2 are visible here. Next slide, please. This is the final slide. It's a view of T4 field maple from Mill Lane, looking southeast. In my opinion, all trees provide a reasonable degree of amenity and will continue to do so for some time into the future. Their removal would have a significant impact on the environment and its enjoyment by the public, and the objection to modify TPO is unjustified. I therefore recommend the TPO is confirmed without modification. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Do we have any questions for the planning officer? Councillor Ruth Brown.
Thank you for that. The objection makes reference to poor condition, life, disease and so forth. When trees are covered by a TPO, presumably there is scope to remove them if they're unsafe, they're diseased or some other reason. So are you saying that currently you don't think they are, or that there are some like that, but that's not a reason for not confirming the TPO.
I would say that not all the trees are in perfect condition. Very few trees are, but they're all worthy of retaining for a minimum of 20 years, I would say. But yes, they can, as and when they do need replacing, they can be with a TPO application. Yeah.
Any other points of clarification? Questions to the officer? No. The officer's recommendation is to confirm the TPO. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, I shall be proposing that we confirm the TPO. Therefore, I propose that we confirm the TPO. May I have a seconder? Councillor Ruth Brown. Thank you. Debate. Do we have any debate? Ruth.
Just want to say that I think it's important that we protect trees. And I speak as someone who's currently cutting down a very large oak tree at a property, which I wish I didn't have to do, but was necessary, which is why I asked the question. That there has to be some obviously discretion for disease and other reasons. But given that that applies, and that you consider these trees to have a 20-year life, I think we should be protecting trees as much as we can. And it sounds like there's some really nice ones like oak trees, lime trees, so forth. So yes, I will be very glad to confirm it without modification. Thank you.
Thank you. That was less debate and more sharing your arboreal grief. But anyway, we share it. Councillor Bryant.
Thank you. I think that these trees will become important to the residents of St Nicholas and Gosmore, if they're not already. I think they'll look at them in the next 20 years, and they'll form a significant contribution to the immunity, environmental quality and well-being of the residents in that area. So let's look after them.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Strong.
Yeah, I must admit, I didn't look at this one on all the documents. Did the parish council get consulted on it, and did they have any comments? I love parish councils, as you obviously know.
Yes, they would have been consulted, but there were no comments as far as I'm aware.
Councillor Claire Billing.
I'm sad about an oak as well, but I'm sad about the major oak that has been confirmed dead today. So yeah, protect all trees.
Lovely. Okay, I see no more hands raised electronically or otherwise. So we have a proposal to confirm the TPO. So I was looking at the exact wording. The proposal is to confirm the TPO. If we could vote on that, please.
Thank you, Chair. That's carried unanimously.
You got there in the end because it was 12, so. Right. And on the subject of trees, a final article tonight is item 9, TPO 00228 2026, land at Coleman's Road, Breachwood Green. Frank Mabbott to present. Frank.
Chair, again, no updates. Can we start the presentation, please? Great, thank you. This is an aerial view of the site location. The site is bordered by Coleman's Road on the west and south side, with the Menard to the north boundary and the property Woodruff to the east. Next slide, please. This shows a close-up of the site with the position of the TPOs marked in red. T1 is an oak tree, T2 is a yew. The yew is located on the inside of a sharp bend, as you can see. Next slide, please. This photo shows T1, the oak from Coleman's Road looking north. The tree is in its early life stage, It's easily visible from the road and it has good form. Next slide, please. This photo shows the yew tree T2 from Coleman's Road looking west. The tree is prominent and marks the bend in the road. The tree appears of some age and has likely been a landscape feature there for some time. In my opinion, both trees provide a reasonable degree of amenity. They are easily visible to the public realm and have a long expected retention span with long-term public benefit. And the removal would have a significant impact on the environment and enjoyment by the public. I therefore recommend that the TPO is confirmed. Concludes presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for the planning officer? Councillor Claire Strong.
Just again, who's actually applied for the TPOs? Is it you are?
Who's well, we've been made aware of it by applications on the site. So we've been made aware of the trees.
So it's an officer. It's an officer who's actually requesting to put the TPOs on.
Yes.
The parish council involved?
Yes, it would have been. They would have been consulted. Yeah.
But there was no comment from them.
No.
Oh, how disappointing.
Okay. Do we have any further questions for the planning officer? No. The officer's recommendation is to confirm the TPO. Unless members are minded to propose a different recommendation on this item, I shall be proposing that we confirm the TPO. I see no lights. Therefore, I propose that we confirm the TPO. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Bryant.
Happy second.
Okay. So do we have any debate? No? Then if we could vote on that, the proposal is to confirm the TPO.
Thank you, Chair. That's carried unanimously.
Thank you. That confirms tonight's meeting. Our next meeting is on Thursday, the 2nd of July, 2026. I would like to point out I've got nothing to do except wait around for the result of a by-election tonight. So you could have occupied my evening for a bit longer, but there you go. Yeah, I think. Thank you very much for your time, Evan, and I'll see you at the next one.